question that I should have had her ask at the end of the last. She talked to me about it, I think it was yesterday, but I told her to bring it up, or she talked to me this morning. And it's something that needs to be clarified. She asked a very big question about remedies that's not in our books. So, Purple, would you please ask your question?
On the remedies for water, we're told by Ellen White and other writers of the pioneers how to drink and when to drink. So we need clarification on the 8-hour or the 8 glasses of 8 ounces of water and how often you should drink it and whether you should use a formula for your weight and your ounces and so forth so that everybody has a clear understanding of how better to drink water.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, let me ask everyone a question. Did I say to drink 8 cups of 8 ounces of water for a day? Did I teach that yesterday? Okay. What did I teach everyone?
Formula.
Okay. Let me show you a quote. Okay. She says, I should bathe frequently, and what does this say? Drink freely. What does that mean to drink freely? Drink all day long.
That means
right?
You drink for free.
Drink it constantly, right? Drink freely. That it should be at my access at all times, right? So, to make it easy, what they've done is they found a formula. Now, are we to go to the world?
No.
Okay, however, does she say the world have principles that we could use that is good for us? She does. Here's the thing. So I want to make this, because I wasn't clear, and I want to clarify it so it's not confusing. Let's look at what the Bible says. Let me see here. Just a minute. And then I'll give a little explanation about the water. Okay. Let's go to Luke chapter 16 and verse 8. And what did I do with my Bible? I think my Bible's out on the table out there. Can I get, okay, thank you, brother. It's in a black case. Is everyone there? Okay. Luke 16:8 says, and the Lord commended, Lord, please be with your word as we open it. In Jesus' name, amen. The Lord commended the unjust steward because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation what? What does that say? The children of this world in their generation are what? Are you guys in Luke 16:8? Let's speak up. Oh, I'm sorry, 8. If I said 18, I apologize.
16.
And the Lord commended the unjust steward because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation what?
Wiser than the children of the light.
According to the Bible, the children of the world are wiser than the children of light. It was the wise men from the Middle East, from the East, the Arab men, who followed the star, who knew Christ had been born, right?
Amen.
Job was a man from the East. Jethro was a Midianite. Do we not see a lot of people in the Bible from other countries? And the children of the world, in many cases, are wiser than the children of light. There are many quotes where Sister White says, certain methods the world uses, we can use. She talks about you can dress like the world if the world's dress is modest. You don't have to look like a pilgrim and a stranger in this land. We want to not look so like a green thumb or what?
Sore thumb.
Right. We are to be a peculiar people, but we're not trying to be so separate from the world. Does the world have long skirts that are modest? Yeah. Does the world have long cotton sleeve tops that are modest? Absolutely. Does the world have modest boots? It's not very common today, but you can find it. We need not look. Now, let me ask you a question, okay? Do some of our dress reformer people look like they're dressed like pilgrims today and holly hobby and wearing bonnets with the bills out to here? Brothers and sisters, we're not to look like a gazing stock, okay? We want to try to come as close to the world without being like the world so that we can reach the world, amen? The world has good information. However, we don't need to go to the world to get our information. So let me give you the information with what I'm trying to say. If the method of healing has not been given to us, as far as have we been given raw juicing? Was that given to us? Does the prophet or pioneers talk about raw juicing of vegetables? You could do fruit. There's many cases, grape juice, and she talks about apple juice, and she talks about lemonade and different things like that. But you don't find it. As a matter of fact, let's look at this quote, where it came from. The juicing of raw vegetables. Okay. It says a Scotchman is launching a new form of vegetarianism in Paris. Its members eat and drink nothing but what? Uncooked vegetable foods and what? So where did the raw vegetables come from? It came from this man. It became real popular with this man. Some people think this was Dr. Walker. Dr. Walker, who has that book on vegetable juicing. He just recently died. Norman Walker, I think his name is. This is in the Pioneer section of the CD-ROM, and it can be found. Let's see here. It's E.J. Wagner. Present Truth in the United Kingdom. That's the name of the paper. This is from E.J. Wagner. Okay? And this was, let's look back at that. That was in 1894. This was before he apostatized. Okay, so now, what about probiotics? Are we told anywhere in our writings to take probiotics? No. Because they're saying this is the way to help digestion. But if you go to Counsels on Diets and Foods, and I'm just going to go to the book, Counsels on Diets and Foods. Okay, and then I'm going to go look for here's the table of contents. And there's a whole section on digestion. Physiology of Digestion, page 101. So if you go to CD 101, okay, and you read this whole chapter, Physiology of Digestion, if we follow everything that she tells us regarding digestion, do we need probiotics? No. Stop eating between meals, separate your meals 5 to 6 hours apart, don't drink with your food, and the list goes on. We don't need probiotics. That's a waste of money. Probiotics can be $28. Can a poor person afford that? No. We need to teach it in the most inexpensive method of living, right? But if it's within our scope of practice, did Ellen White know every disease in her day? Was AIDS existing in her day? AIDS was existing in Ellen White's day? No, it's a new disease. It just came out in 1980s. Okay? HIV, anthrax, there's many things that are new. Well, if the pioneers are dead and Ellen White is dead, who do we have to tell us how to treat them? Huh? But doesn't he speak through man to teach us? Yes, men and women. I mean mankind, the humankind. Yes. God uses people to teach, right? So we have doctors and nurses who have learned how to treat these things that you won't find in our writings. There's a lot of remedies you will not find in our writings, but we're told new light is going to increase, right? But new light is not independent of old light. Okay? So, let me give you an example. Nowhere in our writings do we read about cayenne pepper for a heart attack. But does cayenne pepper work on the spot? Absolutely. Stops a heart attack just like this. I've had chest pain several times. Do that cayenne a couple times, the chest pains are gone. Okay? I know of story after story after story after story. You can go on YouTube. This one lady went into a grocery store, elderly couple walking, husband falls, lady says, oh no, not again, he's having a heart attack. Lady pulls out her cayenne teaser, walks up to the man, opens his mouth, puts it in, takes off. She was a black lady with dreadlocks, and she kind of looked a little spiritual, new age maybe type of thing, and this was a very elderly Caucasian couple, so they're probably wondering, who is this woman? And so they had the woman held in the store in a holding room. And the man was taken to the hospital, and they did an EKG. They said he was in the middle of a serious myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack, and something stopped it in its tracks. Well, what do you think it was? So the man was like, and it was hot. He said, get that lady. So they brought the lady. He said, what did you put in my mouth? She said, cayenne pepper. Why? Because you were having a heart attack. It stops heart attacks. And they're friends to this very day. So the thing is that there are remedies that stick within our guidelines. Can we use herbs? Can we use things of nature that might be poisonous just for an emergency situation like coffee? Absolutely. So cayenne would be one of those things, right? Now, not marijuana, because marijuana has too many major side effects to use for an emergency situation. There's other things you can use. But cayenne pepper is known to stop strokes. It's known to stop heart attacks. So as long as it's within our scope of practice, we don't need everything to come from the pioneers. We don't need everything to come from Ellen White. As long as what we're doing is not a new method of healing, right? Is using an herb or food a new method of healing? No. So is using water treatments a new method of healing? No. So if they find this new water treatment that's not outside of our practice and our scope, and it works wonders, there's nothing wrong with using it. As long as you're not doing it in the rectum continuously, as long as it's not violating what has been given to us. Is that making sense? So when it says the world is to be no criterion for us, we don't need to go to the world to know how to heal as far as these different methods. But if it's an herb, there might be herbs we've never heard of. And as long as it's a simple herb and it's not complicated, but we were the ones who learned to use herbs. We were the ones who learned to use the water treatments and the vegetarian diet. And you get what I'm saying? So if it sticks within our scope of practice and it's known to work, there's nothing wrong with that. Is that? But when they're saying you need probiotics and you need mangosteen and you need this and you need $25 bottle, well, that right there is a violation of our health message because it has to be affordable to the poor as well as to the rich. If I have to pay $100 a month for this bottle of juice, because I need 4 bottles, 1 bottle a week, $25, that's not our health message. Amen? Okay. So now we're going to go into, and getting to the water. Drink freely means to have it constant at your disposal, okay? So having a formula, and 8 ounces, 8 cups of 8 ounces, 8 ounces, 8 cups a day. It cannot be for everybody. You have 6'7" men, right? And women. And they weigh a lot more than I do because, height is weight. And so they require more water than I require. And then there are people smaller who don't require as much. 64 ounces in the day might be way too much for them. If they only weigh 95 pounds and they're 4'10", 95 pounds is a good weight for them. They don't need to have that much water, to spread out throughout the day. So the formula has been shown to work great. When you divide it amount throughout the hours I showed you that you're awake for the day, minus the 1 hour in the morning, the 1 hour in the evening before bed, you're only getting a little bit of ounces each hour. So you're not overdoing it, and you're not going to get water load. And then a comment was brought up to me that the remedy that I gave 10 ounces every 10 minutes, 8 ounces every 10 minutes for 90 minutes, it was not good for them. They had to go to the restroom too much. Well, valerian root, who's heard of that? Excellent for sleeping, insomnia, to calm you down. 10% of people who use it have the opposite effect. It wires them and keeps them awake. Every remedy is not going to work for everybody. There might be another remedy for that same ailment that would work better than the main remedy. Do you get what I'm saying? But just because it doesn't work for one, doesn't mean it's not good for others. Now, should we be drinking 8 ounces every 10 minutes for an hour and a half on a regular basis? No. This is for an emergency purpose with someone who has a migraine headache. Some people don't want to do that. Then you can't force them to do it. But I've always used it, and it's always worked for me, and it's worked for a lot of people. My son-in-law, my ex-son-in-law, he called me up one day. He was by himself with my grandsons. My daughter was away doing work, and he didn't have the car. He didn't have any money, and he said, "Mom, I'm dying. I have this major migraine. What do I do? I can't get any Tylenol." I said, "Oh, well, you got water and you have a cup, right?" So I told him what to do. We stayed on the phone the whole time, an hour and a half, and he started to yell out loud. And he was using profanity because he's a person of the world, not of the faith. I said, "Why are you using that language?" He said, "I'm mad right now." "Why are you mad?" He said, "You're trying to tell me that water will take away a migraine when I've been going to the doctors for years to get shots and paying all this money, and it still didn't help, and then I drink this water and my migraine is gone?" I was like, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Here is a guy of the world, and he acknowledged that this remedy was a blessing to him. And I've worked with so many people, I could tell you so many stories. But not, if there's a remedy, some people, the eucalyptus and honey doesn't work. It could also be, and I'm not saying this is the person's case with the water situation, but it could also be a lack of faith. Is a remedy going to work if you don't have faith? Mm-mm. I know people who've done the eucalyptus and honey, and it did not work for their cough. But they didn't believe it was going to work from the beginning. That's why it didn't work. And also it hasn't worked for people because they were using store-bought honey instead of the one from Trader Joe's or the farmer's market or the honey farm. So I tell people, you got to follow this stuff strictly or it won't work. Amen? Okay, so we're going to go into our remedies now. So, simple remedies, not drugs, part 3. And what did I do? Here it is. Okay, so give simple remedies and treatments. Give those who are sick what kind of treatments? That will relieve them. The simple treatments. Medical Ministry, page 320, paragraph 2. What does that first word say? Come on, guys. Input. Always. What does always mean? Every day. All day. Now, does Jesus say the cares of this world can choke out the word? You know, Sister White says people allow their lands, their farms, their kids, their family to choke out the word because they spend so much time on those things, they don't have time. Brothers and sisters, we've got to study this message, and we should not allow anything else to, remember we learned Testimonies, Volume 9, page 19, paragraph 1? Nothing else is to absorb the attention. Yes, country living is important. Yes, gardening is important. But if you have 20 acres, 30 acres, 40 acres, you're going to be consuming all your time in that and not consuming your time in the home. Cooking is important. But are we supposed to do cooking that takes hours? Or are we supposed to do simple cooking? Simple cooking. Sewing is to be simple. We're not supposed to be doing all this embroidering and putting all these fancy things on. We put things on our plate that shouldn't be there. And you have good, better, and best. We want the best. Amen? We have to make sure, because are we going to be able to stand before God and say, but Lord, I didn't have time. Redeeming the time, for the days are evil. Are the days evil? So what do we need to be doing with our time? We need to be redeeming our time. Always study and teach the use of the simplest remedies, and the special blessing of the Lord may be expected to follow the use of these means, which are within the reach of whom? Common people. So what do we want to use? Simple things that are in the reach of what? Common people. What about a lemon? What about a potato? What about some cabbage? What about an onion? What about garlic? Are these things within the reach of the common people? Yeah, we're going to be learning this week what to do with all those things. We learned Wednesday too. You don't want to miss the class we had on Wednesday. That was class number 8. Okay, that's Policy Collection 38, paragraph 4. How many people on this slide? Come on, guys, feedback. Every person, this is a class, should have a knowledge of nature's remedial agencies and how to what? It is, what does that word say? What does essential mean? It's life or death. It is essential both to understand the principles involved in the treatment of the sick and to have a what? That's why we do the natural remedy classes like we did Wednesday. That will enable one rightly to use its knowledge. Ministry of Healing. Earache, cough, cold, flu, fever, hay fever, allergies, congestion, headache, you name it, stomach ache, cough, sore throat, bleeding internally, hemorrhaging, whatever it is, we should be able to know what to do for it. And praise God, everything I just mentioned, I know what to do. And I've had to do it for myself or others. How many should become intelligent? In its use in simple what? Should they be complicated treatments? If a medical missionary stands in front of you and says, well, you really need a doctor to administer this herb, or this herb you have to be very cautious, then is that what you want to use? What about somebody telling you, rub motor oil all over your skin? There are medical missionaries around us who say this. And yeah, it does affect it, but what is it doing to your blood? What is it doing to your liver? Mothers especially should know how to care for their families in both health and sickness. When I read that, I had 4 little ones. And I studied everything I could. Because I saw that was a high calling. Mothers especially. That means of all the people in Adventism, we should know it more than anybody else. We should all know it, but especially mothers. Ministry of Healing 237, paragraph 2. So, what to do for nervousness? We're going to be learning what do you do for these things that are written in the Spirit Prophecy. A cup of tea made from catnip herb will quiet the nerves. So, what is an excellent herb for quieting the nerves? Catnip tea. It gets cats high, but it makes people calm. My mom used to dangle it in front of our cats and they would, woo! But it doesn't do that to people when you drink it. Okay? Sleeping problems. Hops tea will induce sleep. And there's other things, warm baths, peppermint tea, but hops tea. If she says hops tea, nothing can improve on it. But you might not have hops available. But hops tea. And if you put a bunch of hops in your pillowcase and sew it and sleep with that every night, you'll sleep like a baby. Stomach pain. Hot poultices over the stomach will relieve pain. Isn't that nice to know? Second selected messages 297, paragraphs 4 and 5. Eye problems. And you'll get this handout on Wednesday. If the eyes are weak, if there's pain in the eyes or inflammation, soft flannel cloths wet in hot water and salt, you can use washcloths today, will bring relief. How fast? Quickly, that's paragraph 6. Head congestion. When the head is congested, if the feet and limbs are put in a bath with a little mustard, relief will be obtained. This is condiment mustard. I do a cup of mustard, about a half a cup, and I whisk it in the hot foot bath. And you want to have a tea kettle on the stove because you want to keep that hot foot bath going so it doesn't get cold. And you want a cold rag around the neck and one around the front of the head. Why? Because if you don't put cold here, the blood is going to rush straight from your head to your feet. Okay? But if you put cold here and here, it constricts it and the blood goes at an even pace instead of going so fast. And that's paragraph 7. Olive oil. Okay, we were talking about that yesterday. We don't really take it internally, but you can use it medicinally internally, right? And externally. Irritated stomach, consumption, and constipation. The oil as eaten in the olive serves as a laxative. If you get the cold pressed, extra virgin, its use will be found beneficial to consumptives and it is healing to an inflamed, irritated stomach. So it's good for people with TB. My baby, he's 29 now, he'll be 30 in January. When he was newborn, he had colic. He cried for 17 hours straight. I was at my wits. I was going crazy. I was in the doctor's office. Do something, please. They gave me Gas X. It didn't work. I had just started. Right when this happened, I had stepped foot in the Seventh-day Adventist church for my first time in life. 1990, March. He was born January 8th. No, when I stepped foot in, this was about a week later. And the girl across the street was from Mexico. She said, give me the baby. She took some olive oil on her finger and rubbed it on his tongue and his gums. And then she gave him some chamomile tea. He stopped crying in 5 minutes. He didn't cry anymore. And I said, what? And this was before I was learning this. I learned this a year and a half later. I started learning natural remedies. So that incident, when I was learning the remedies, made me think back on when she did that. And when I read this quote, I said, I know this works. I know the olive oil works because I've seen it firsthand. Constipation and kidney diseases. The oil in olives is a remedy for constipation and kidney diseases. And she said we would do well to eat olives at every meal. Yes. And just let me show you that quote so you can see for yourself. So you can't say Sister Guardo said. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Do you see that? Olives might be eaten with good results at what? Every meal. Okay. Okay, it's great for constipation and kidney diseases. Counsels on Diets and Foods, page 360, paragraph 1. If you have kidney issues, we have a document what to do for that, and olive oil is included. Indigestion. I will tell you a little about my experience with charcoal as a remedy, activated charcoal. People say, oh, you mean the charcoal you barbecue with? No, that's treated and has chemicals. For some forms of indigestion, it is more efficacious than drugs. A little olive oil into which some of this powder has been stirred tends to cleanse and heal. I find it is excellent. So when someone has indigestion, give them olive oil with a little charcoal and have them eat it. Second select messages, 298, paragraph 5. Do people have indigestion? Do people have swollen eyes? Do people have these problems we're looking at? These are simple remedies, brothers and sisters. Do people have salt in their homes? Is charcoal easy to access? Yeah, it's not expensive either if you get it in bulk. Lemon juice. I was shocked when I read this. Rheumatism, the head, and malaria. I use lemon juice. What does that word say? Put it in all your water. We're supposed to drink water freely, right? Okay, so put your lemon in your water and you'll be drinking both freely. It is the
Best thing.
when the prophet says something is the best thing, can you improve on it? It is the best thing you could use for, what is that word?
Rheumatism.
Rheumatism. Is that painful? Rheumatism?
Yeah.
For your head and for, what is that word? Now someone will say, well, this must be another malaria. No, we know what malaria is, right? So I tell people when you go to Africa, we tell them for 30 days prior. There's a remedy, several remedies we have to do, the garlic, the echinacea, a few things, but also get lemons. And I found out there's lemon trees all over the place in Africa. One of the medical missionaries told me the African people suffer so much from cataracts and glaucoma. And remember what I told you to put in your eye every morning? Lemon juice. He said their remedy is standing right there. They got lemon trees all over the place. God provides the antidote in the areas that you need it most. Amen? That was second manuscript release, page 48, paragraph 1. Consumption, tuberculosis. I conversed with a young man who is dying with consumption. He has led a dissolute life. It made the Christian life look so bright in contrast with this poor sinner who could not comfort himself with any bright picture. I gave him what? And tried to make him as comfortable as possible. Because what does TB affect? The lungs. And what does lemon juice, what is it high in? Vitamin C. This man in New Zealand got the bird flu, and he had fluid on the lungs. He was in New Zealand, and he was going to die, and they were going to pull the plug. The sons did some research and found out mega doses of vitamin C would heal him. They were giving him 25,000 milligrams a day for 2 days. 50% of the fluid on his lungs was gone in 2 days. Then this hospital said there's nothing else we can do for him. He's going to die. And they stopped giving him the vitamin C. And they said, well, why would you stop giving him the vitamin C if it worked? So the sons went to court. You can see this on YouTube. There's videos of him. He's swollen. That man, they went and got a court order. So the court said give him 1,000 milligrams a day for a week. And in 1 week, he came up out of that coma. When he woke up, the wife was giving him 25,000 milligrams a day again. Now, this is mega doses. We don't really recommend this, but it was an emergency situation. And a guy with tubes, you're not going to give him lemon juice, but they did give him the vitamin C. I believe they gave it through the IV or something. But it worked. Why? Because vitamin C is excellent for these types of problems of the lungs. Wonderful. And that was 11 manuscript release, page 120, paragraph 4. For someone who passed out, instead of smelling salts, grab a lemon. The third day when the aromatic odor of the cigars came to me, I became stomach sick. The most intense pain pierced my eyeballs and back of the eyeballs in my head. It seemed that the top of my head was crashing like broken glass. Large drops of perspiration stood upon my face and my entire body broke out in profuse perspiration because they smoked a lot all over on the trains. Later on, you had them smoking and non-smoking. But the non-smokers were getting the secondhand smoke, and that's what happened to Sister White. Then came a confused noise in my head, and I became blind and fainted entirely away. In half an hour, I revived by what? Being pressed in my what? When someone passes out, start putting lemon juice in their mouth. Isn't that amazing? But you want to do CPR too, if they're not breathing. But that's what they did. No need for smelling salts. And that was 11 manuscript release, page 122, paragraph 1. Now we're going to go into cough. I'm very sorry to learn that Sister C is not well. I cannot advise any remedy for her cough better than what? She said, I cannot advise any remedy better than what? So what is the prophet saying is the best remedy for coughs?
Eucalyptus and honey.
She's saying this is the best remedy. So why are we getting elderberries and onions and garlic and 10 ingredients and chop it and put it all together? That costs money, doesn't it? And that takes time. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. But what if I use honey from Kroger's? What if I use honey from the dollar store? Where do I want to get my honey from? And Trader Joe's is the cheapest of all three, the least expensive. Into a tumbler of honey, put a few drops of eucalyptus oil, stir it up well, and take whenever the cough comes on. Whenever I use this, I overcome the difficulty very quickly. I have to use it only a few times, and that's because she says take a teaspoon. I tell people who are not diabetic, take a tablespoon. And the cough is removed. If you will use this, what? What is she calling this?
Prescription.
You may be your own, brothers and sisters, we are to be our own physicians. We're to prescribe our own remedies that the Lord has given us. Amen? If the first trial does not affect a cure, try it again. The best time to take it is when? When's the best time to take this?
For sign of symptoms.
Before retirement. Amen. And you're going to see another quote where she said it should be boiled honey. Okay? When the cough comes on, I take a teaspoon of the mixture and relief comes almost immediately. I have always used this with the best of results. I ask you to use the same remedy when you are troubled with the cough. This prescription may seem so simple that you feel no confidence in it. Some of these remedies are so simple, people don't trust them. Like that, come on now, I got to do a whole bunch of stuff in order for this to work. No, we're to use the simplest remedies. I have tried it for a number of, and I've been using it for 28 years, brothers and sisters, me, myself, and I can tell you it works wonders. It works great. I won't use that. Dimetap and Robitussin have been long gone. For 28 years. Second selected messages, page 301, paragraph 1. Into a tumbler of honey, put a few drops of the eucalyptus, stir it up well, and take. I've had considerable trouble with my throat, but whenever I use this, I overcome the difficulty very quickly. I've already told you the remedy I use when suffering from difficulties with my throat. I take a glass of what kind of honey? And into this, I put a few drops of eucalyptus oil, stirring it in well. So it's good for coughs and it's good for the throat. Amen? Second selected messages, page 300, paragraph 2 to 301, paragraph 1. Boils. Elder Haskell has suffered a great deal from boils. He has been afflicted continuously. Pulverized charcoal poultices have been used with what? So when somebody says, I have a boil, what do I do for it? Pulverized charcoal poultice. That Loma Linda Messages, page 155, paragraph 3. When Hezekiah was sick, the prophet of God brought him the message that he should die. The king cried to the Lord. Who knows this story? Everybody know the story? Let's go to Second Kings. Let's go to 2 Kings and let's read it. Let's go to 2 Kings chapter 20. 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings. 2 Kings chapter 20. And I will read verses 1 through 7. And when everyone is there, say amen. In those days was Hezekiah sick unto death, so he had a deadly illness. And the prophet Isaiah, the son of Amos, came to him and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die and not live. So if you know you're going to die, you need to do what to your home? Get that will taken care of, get your advance directive in order, get whoever you want over your affairs, because I'm telling you right now, when you die, your family members are going to be fighting over your money and your property and everything else. I've seen it time and time again. Get your affairs in order. Verse 2, then he turned his face to the wall and prayed unto the Lord. If the doctor says you're going to die in 6 weeks of cancer, what do? We cry to God, right? Saying, verse 3, I beseech thee, O Lord, remember now how I have walked before thee in truth with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight. And Hezekiah wept sore. So now he's trying to put his goodness here. He's reminding the Lord, remember I did this, God? Remember I did that? Verse 4, and it came to pass afore Uzziah was gone out in the middle court, that the word of the Lord came to him, saying, turn again and tell Hezekiah, the captain of my people, thus saith the Lord, the God of David, thy father, I have heard thy prayer. I have seen thy tears. Isn't it nice to know God sees our tears? The Bible says not one tear is wasted. They're all in a bottle. Behold, I will heal thee. On the third day thou shalt go up unto the house of the Lord, and I will add unto thy days how many years? He's already an old man. Now he's given another 15 years. Okay? But he didn't say, not my will, but thy will be done. And the third year, he had a wicked son named Manasseh, who caused the entire house of Judah to sin, worse than any king of Israel. We have to say, Lord, not my will, but thy will. Lord, I really want to live, but God, if I'm going to live and do more wicked than I've done in the past, forget it. You know? But in front of the sick that you're working with, never say whatever thy will is, Lord, because they'll think it's not his will for them to be healed. She tells us that. Okay, verse 7. And Isaiah said, take a lump of figs, and they took and laid it on the boil, and he recovered. So, this is called a boil, but it was a boil that was going to cause him to die. So we would call this what? A tumor. Cancerous tumor, right? Now, look at what the prophet says. It's called a boil, though. 15 years would be added to his life. One word from God, one touch of the divine finger would have been enough to cure Hezekiah instantly. But instead, he was given directions to make a poultice of figs, cut the fig open, put it on the boil, and lay it upon the part affected. This was done, and Hezekiah was restored to health. It would be well to treasure this what? Which the Lord ordered to be used more than... Brothers and sisters, we don't tell people to use this for tumors and boils, but we're told to use this. Second selected messages, page 300, paragraph 1. Now, who did God have to tell Hezekiah to put the figs on him? What was his name? Isaiah. And what was Isaiah? Are we to go to the prophet to learn the remedies? Amen. God's the same yesterday, today, and forever. Okay, fever. Fever cases have been lost when had the physicians left off entirely their drug treatment. You know, Tylenol can kill babies. Had they put their wits to work and wisely and persistently used the Lord's own remedies, plenty of air and water, the patients would have what? Medical ministry. So what is one of the remedies we need for a fever? Water. Give them lots of water to drink, externally and internally. But when you're in the hospital, they put a sign called NPL, means no water. That's crazy. If your relative is in the hospital and they have a fever and they're putting NPL, sneak that water to them. I'm serious. That'll kill them. It is their fevered, if in their fevered state, water had been given them to drink what? Freely. And applications had also been made externally. Long days and nights of suffering would have been saved and many precious lives spared. Counsels on Diets and Foods, page 419, paragraph 5. Fever continued. In cases of severe fever, abstinence from food for a short time will lessen the fever and make the use of water more effectual. Start a fever, feed a cold. Start a fever, feed a cold. But as soon as the strength of the fever is broken, nourishment should be given in a careful, judicious manner. So let me go to the board. What is the normal body temperature for your average person? Okay? Now, when does it start getting fever? When do they consider it a fever? What did I hear? When you get to this. 100 degrees. You're in fever state. For a child, this is very dangerous. You want to get this down ASAP. Why is that?
Seizures.
What? I heard it.
For seizures.
Seizures. My daughter, she had a fever. All the time she was with her dad, thank God I wasn't around. I would have panicked. Her dad had the same seizures when he was a baby. He grew out of them. She was convulsing. He was not where we lived. He actually went to go visit his parents, and his dad was the one who knew what to do. Had my husband been by himself or I'd been by with the baby, we wouldn't have known what to do at the time. So he knew what to do. But we learned that as soon as you feel her warm, start putting cold compresses all over her. Cool compresses. Okay? And then for an adult, they can get up as much as this. And this is very dangerous. When an adult gets to 103, you're looking at complications. But when you get to 105, 106, you're doing brain damage. Brain damage. Okay? Another thing is good is suck on lemons. Babies love lemons. Kids love lemons. And they make those faces. Just let them suck on the lemons and drink all the water that they want. If food is withheld too long, the stomach's craving for it will create fever, which will be relieved by a proper allowance of food of a right quality. Second Testimonies, page 384, paragraph 2. What happened here? I don't know what's missing. Something has suddenly stricken down by disease. The fire of fever seems consuming him. The blessed heaven-sent water, skillfully applied, would quench the what?
The drug.
But it is set aside for what? When kids have fevers, do parents give them water or are they giving them Tylenol? They need water. They need water. 5T, page 195, paragraph 1. I think the treatment you were giving Brother Lacey, the ice, etc., used to keep down the fever, I feel that the ice used is a mistake. Do not apply ice to the head. Never put ice to the head of fever, but use cool water instead. Apply hot fomentations over the bowel, stomach, and liver. And you could put the charcoal poultice there and then put the hot fomentation on top. This will quell the fever much sooner, even than cold. The reaction after the cold applications raised the fever in the place of killing it. 20 Manuscript Release, page 278, paragraph 2. On one occasion, a physician came to me in great distress. He had been called to attend a young woman who was dangerously ill. She had contracted fever. Do you get fever and malaria?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you need to give malaria patients, you need to give them water, you need to give them the compresses over the stomach, and you need to give them this. She became so much worse that it was feared she could not live. The physician, what is his name right there? Dr. Merrick Kellogg. That's the one whose green book I showed you yesterday. Came to me and said, Sister White, have you any light for me on this case? Who did he go to? He went to the prophet. He knew who he would go to. If relief cannot be given our sister, she can live but a few hours. I replied, send to A and get some pulverized charcoal, make a poultice of it, and lay it over her stomach and sides. The doctor hastened away to follow out my instructions. Soon he returned saying, relief came when? She was at death's door. She was going to die in a few hours. She was cured in 30 minutes. Relief came in less than 30 minutes, less than half an hour after the application of the poultices. She is now having the first natural sleep she has had for days. Second selected message is 295, paragraph 2. How hard is it to put charcoal poultice over her stomach. How hard is it to put a hot application over us? Is this hard? This is not hard stuff. Pain. I have ordered the same treatment for others who were suffering great pain, and it has brought relief and been the means of saving life. She says the number one remedy for any inflammation is charcoal. Second selected message is 295, paragraph 3. Snake bites, stings of reptiles, and poisonous insects. My mother had told me that snake bites and the sting of reptiles and poisonous insects could often be rendered harmless by the use of... I remember I was sitting at my keyboard one day on my computer, and we have black widows all over in Lancaster. I mean, doesn't the Bible say the spider makes his web in the king's palace? The spider's going to be in your house, no matter what kind of bug spray you try to use. So I'm not scared of black widows. I've seen them so many times I've had to beat them with shoes. We've seen big ones, little ones. One day I'm at the keyboard, and all of a sudden I feel a sting on my arm, like a ding, and I could see red spreading real fast. I look up, this little spider, he's about that big, he's a black widow, he's dangling on a piece of web thread. He thought, oh, your arm looks good to eat, and took a bite. And I went and got some charcoal with water. It was a little bite, and I rubbed it over it. And 2 seconds later, the pain was gone, and the red streaks were gone. But it works great. It works really well. The bigger it is, the more you need, and the more often you need to change it. Bruised hands and limbs inflammation. When working on the land at Avondale, Australia, the workmen would often bruise their hands and limbs, and this in many cases resulted in such severe inflammation that the worker would have to leave his work for some time. One came to me one day in this condition with his hand tied in a sling. He was much troubled over the circumstance, for his help was needed in clearing the land. I said, go to the place where you've been burning the timber and get me some charcoal from the eucalyptus tree, pulverize it. Now, they were in Australia. That's why she said eucalyptus tree, but it doesn't have to be from a eucalyptus tree. And I will dress your hand. This was done, and the next morning he reported the pain was gone. And you should keep dressing it until the pain is gone. Soon he was ready to return to his work. Pulverized charcoal we have used freely in cases of what? Inflammation. And freely means continue the application. Don't use it one time and that's it. Second selected message is 298, paragraph 5. Inflammation of the bowels and bloody stool. A brother was taken sick with inflammation of the bowels and bloody dysentery. The man was not a careful health reformer, but indulged his appetite. We were just preparing to leave Texas, where we had been laboring for several months, and we had carriages prepared to take away this brother and his family and several others who were suffering from malarial fever. So he had malaria. My husband and I thought we would stand this expense rather than have the heads of several families die and leave their wives and children unprovided for. Should we help those who cannot pay for these remedies? 2 or 3 were taken in, but thank God they're inexpensive. 2 or 3 were taken in the large spring wagon on spring mattresses, but this man who was suffering from inflammation of the bowels said for me to come to him. My husband and I decided that it would not do to move him. Fears were entertained that mortification had set in. He's dying. Then the thought came to me like a communication from the Lord, and this happens to me a lot. I'll be like, Lord, I don't know what to do, and boom, I get the thought. Take pulverized charcoal, put water upon it, and give this water to the sick man to drink, putting bandages of the charcoal, and you could use paper towels now, over the bowels and stomach. The sick man's son went to a blacksmith shop, secured the charcoal and pulverized it, and then used it according to the directions given. The result was that in half an hour, and we keep seeing this half an hour, less than half an hour, there was a change for the what? The blessing of God had worked with the simple means used. Second selected message is 299, paragraph 2. One herb every household should have. It's not an herb, activated charcoal. Dr. Christopher, who was a known doctor doing remedies all over the world, he said if he had to choose only 2 herbs, it would be activated charcoal and cayenne pepper. Swelling on the knee from an insect bite. On Thursday, Sister Sarah McInterfer was called to see if she could do anything for Brother B's little son, who is 18 months old. Oh, their heart must have been breaking for him. For several days, he has had a painful swelling on the knee, supposed to be from the bite of some poisonous insect. Pulverized charcoal mixed with flaxseed was placed upon the swelling, and this poultice gave relief what? How fast? At once. My grandson had come to visit me, the one who knows about the cayenne for a heart attack. He was like 5, maybe 6. He said, Grandma, I think a spider bit me. I looked at his knee. He had a boil and it was red and painful. I put the charcoal poultice on it. Grandma doesn't hurt anymore. It gave him relief at once. The child had screamed with pain all night, but when this was applied, he did what? Today she has been to see the little one twice. She opened the swelling. Now, why do we need to open the swelling? She was bit by something poisonous, right? Do we want to leave that in there? No, because it can eat the flesh. She opened the swelling in 2 places. You open it on one side and the other side of the bite. When it swells, it will pool the venom, the poison. Take a little needle and burn it, or a little razor and burn it, and just cut a little slit, put a little hole, and then squeeze all that stuff out. And a large amount of yellow matter and blood was discharged freely. The child was relieved of its great suffering. We thank the Lord that we may become, what's that word? And using the simple things within our reach to alleviate pain and successfully remove its causes. Second selected messages, page 299, paragraph 3. Swelling on the knee. This boy had been troubled with a knee swelling for 5 years. For 11 months, he was confined to his bed under the care of a physician. Sister McInterfer had treated him with what? Water compresses and pulverized charcoal until the inflammation had been relieved. Did she do one application? No, she did many, and she went several days. He was so much better that he laid aside his crutches and attended to the cooking, as had been mentioned. But this was too much, and the knee troubled him again. It was necessary to give him a thorough course of treatment. So we took him to my own house and gave him constant care. There was a large swelling under the knee, which he called his ague. This swelling was opened and discharged freely, and from it were taken pieces of, he had broken his knee, and it caused all of these problems. Or he hit it, and it caused pieces of bones to fracture, and that caused the swelling. He improved how fast? I don't know what GH is. I'll have to look that up. Indigestion. I will tell you a little about my experience with charcoal as a remedy. For some forms of indigestion, we went over this. It is more efficacious than drugs. A little olive oil into which some of this powder has been stirred tends to cleanse and heal. I find it is excellent. Inflammation of the eyes. The more severe inflammation of the eyes will be relieved by a poultice of, if it's mild inflammation, you use salt water, flannel cloth and salt water, cloth. But if it's severe, you use a charcoal of what? What did Jesus put over the blind man's eyes? It was really charcoal. It was charcoal. Charcoal clay, yeah. And are we supposed to eat clay? People are telling you to eat bentonite clay and green clay and other clays. Shouldn't eat it. She says not to eat it. Okay? Put in a bag and dipped in hot or cold water. Now we can put in a paper towel, right? As will best suit the case. This works like a charm. Pamphlet 144, page 24, paragraph 1. The previous one was 24, paragraph 3. There are many other uses for charcoal that are not in the spirit of prophecy. Nausea and vomiting. Take 2 to 3 heaping tablespoons of charcoal and water. Take as needed. But you should not take it 2 hours before or after if you're on medication. Children, you can try 1 tablespoon with them. Wait till after gag reflex, because after they're vomiting, there's a gag reflex. That's when you get it down their throat, because they won't vomit during that time. This will prevent them from vomiting it up. Poultices over the liver and kidneys helps in detoxifying the liver and the kidneys. If a child has jaundice, put a charcoal poultice over the liver, give them charcoal water and stick them in the sun. Bilirubin levels will go down real quickly. Here we go. I just said that to you guys. Metal toxicity. Activated charcoal helps remove metal poisoning from the body. If you're getting mercury taken out of your mouth, bring you some charcoal. After you're done, start drinking it. Amen? Charcoal is also great for rashes. Place about a cup in a bathtub and have the person swim in it. Swim. My grandkids would swim. Grandma, look at me, I'm all black. They're already African American, but now they're really dark. And nothing cleans the tub better than Awesome. Awesome, $1. Awesome, $1 spray. You get it from the Dollar Tree. You get it from Walmart. You get it from the 99-cent store. AWESOME. Our God is an awesome God. And the stuff is really awesome. And diarrhea, Crohn's disease, IBS, colitis, cholera, food poisoning, colic, drug overdoses, gas, heartburn, whitening the teeth, gum diseases, toothaches, if you mix with clove oil, broken bones, high cholesterol, triglycerides, liver enzymes, candida, hemorrhoids, inflammation of the prostate, gland, diabetic sores, and so much more. To learn more about charcoal, go to charcoalremedies.com. They have a wonderful book called charcoalremedies.com. Charcoal House is the same affiliate, same people. You can order their charcoal very inexpensively, cheaper than you'll find it anywhere else. Let's see what else. Dr. Agatha Thrash wrote a book on charcoal. You can find it on the UG Pines website. Very good. That's where I learned how often to change a snake bite and a spider bite every 20 minutes for like the first 3 hours, something like what I was telling you guys the other day, if you were here Wednesday. That was Counsels on Diets and Foods, page 301, paragraph 2. There are many ways of practicing the healing art, but there are how many ways? That heaven approves. Whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it to you. He promises to come to us as a comforter to bless us. Why do we not believe these promises? That which we lack in faith, we make up by the use of drugs. Let us, believing that Jesus does not desire us to be sick, and that if we live according to the principles of health reform, he will do what? It's 19 Manuscript Release 51, paragraph 2. And what did we learn? Even if you use remedies and they don't work, are you supposed to use any drugs? That was easy, wasn't it? The end. The end. Any questions? Those are the remedies from the spirit of prophecy. Now, this is not water remedies. We're going to be covering water remedies. We're going to be covering what to do in the place of antibiotics. I see your hand. We'll get to you in just a minute. We're going to be covering different remedies in the near future in this next week, because next Sunday is our last day, and next Sunday is 3 topics instead of 2. Okay, so I saw her hand up first, his hand up first, I saw his hand up second, and I saw yours up third. So let's take the microphone. What? So give it to, I think his name is Ignacio.
Nacho.
And you will have the handout for today on Wednesday.
When you say pulverized charcoal, that it refers to the activated charcoal, or because as you read about that they burn the eucalyptus tree.
That's activated charcoal.
Oh, that's
Because real charcoal, activated charcoal, is burned and smothered so that the air doesn't get into it and it does something to the wood. And so they call it pulverized because it comes out hard and you have to break it. and you have to chop it down very easily to a powder. Because sometimes you can buy the charcoal, activated charcoal briquettes, but if you put it in a sock or stocking, and then you just mash it, it crushes to powder very easily.
Now, regular charcoal, like regular wood, because I remember too that I heard, when it's an injury, like a cut, sometimes they use like ashes. Is that?
That's not the same. You want the inner portion, the core of that wood. That's where they get it from. The external doesn't work as well as the internal.
Okay.
In the center. Okay, this gentleman was next, right here. Oh, you don't, okay, you just need me to go backwards. Okay, Gabe was next.
I've been buying my honey through Azure Standard, and I know you're familiar with Azure Standard. Is their honey good?
I think it's a farmer's market honey. Call them to make sure.
Okay,
I think it's done the natural way with the bees.
no.
Yes.
It's like white, it's really thick. It doesn't look like honey, it looks different what you would buy in the store. And then also,
It might be whipped. Because they'll whip the honey a lot, and then it'll be that white color.
okay, and it has the wax with it, I think. Anyway. And what about poppy seeds for pain?
I wouldn't use them.
You wouldn't? Okay.
No. Because of the opium.
Okay.
There's other things you can use for pain. She said water treatments will check pain quickly. We got to learn the water treatments. Give me just a moment. I'm looking for something. Give me just a minute, because something came in my mind that was not on this PowerPoint, and it should have been. And I want you guys to see this remedy. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's see. Hold on a second. I have an actual document for this, but I don't see it here, and I need to find it. It's somewhere on my CD-ROM. Let me see something. Hold on a second. Hold on, guys. Hold on a second. No, it's not showing there. Let me look it up. I'm just gonna look it up on the CD-ROM.
Okay. Okay. No, but the camera can hear you. It can hear me.
Okay, let's look at two different quotes. What is unfermented wine?
Your juice.
I dreamed of having the care of a child that was weak and seemed unable to rally. I thought the same physician stood by the cradle and said, "Have you any wine in the house?" Beat up a raw egg and give it to the child with grape wine, the unfermented juice of grape, 3 times each day. He will rally. Another quote, she says, 3 times each day for 3 days. So, let's see here. The night before, I dreamed that I was caring for a child whose life was despaired of. Its head was swollen and the whole body inflamed, so he had swelling on the brain. A skillful physician gave orders to take woolen sheets, dip them in hot water, and wrap them around the child. Up to this time, the child had been without sense of feeling, but as we worked over him with persevering diligence, wrapping him in hot blankets, we saw that he began to cringe. This process was kept up until the child's life was saved. It was the brother of the sick man who came to me with the message, and when I told him my dream about the child, he said that I had described his brother's case exactly. He said he would follow the directions given, for the dream was of the Lord. He said, my brother has no sense of feeling. His body is apparently dead, just as you described the body of the child to be. He went home and carried out the treatment as given in my dream. 2 or 3 times they wrapped the sick man in hot blankets until he began to wince, and finally asked them what they were doing. In a short time, the swelling left his head, and he was fully conscious, and this man was stomped on by a horse, I believe. When the physician arrived, he said that it was nothing less than a miracle. After this, Dr. Lay came to me and said, I have gone as far as I can go, but Brother Wilson is sinking. I cannot arouse him. I said last night I dreamed that my sick child was sinking. I asked a skillful physician who has never lost a case what I should do. Who's the skillful physician? The answer came, break an egg into a glass of unfermented wine and give him such a drink 2 or 3 times a day. And we read earlier 3 times, until the exhaustion is gone and there's a revival of the life forces. Snatching up his hat, Dr. Lay said, this is of the Lord. We shall say, Brother Wilson, yet, and off he went. For 3 days he gave him egg and wine. How many days?
3 days.
And how many times a day? And he was soon fully recovered. Now, I'm going to show you one more quote. Let me see. There is one thing that has saved life, an infusion of blood from one person to another. We do not do what the Jehovah's Witnesses do. However, the blood today is very contaminated, right? But this would be difficult and perhaps impossible for you to do. Let me show you. Where is it? Here it is. There is one thing that has saved life, an infusion of blood from one person to another, but this would be difficult and perhaps impossible for you to merely do. The reason I'm sharing this is because somewhere in this, here it is. Use eggs cooked or raw. Now we saw in other places it's raw. Drop them uncooked into the best what? Unfermented wine you can find. This will supply that which is necessary to your system. So, what is the purpose of a blood transfusion? I can't hear you.
If you have hypovolemia,
What's the main reason for blood transfusions? What are they trying to replace?
blood cells.
The red blood cells. Yeah, the red blood cells and platelets, right? Okay. When you're dealing with somebody who is so anemic they need a transfusion or the platelets are so low, you give them this remedy, and I'm telling you it works. My best friend's mom 2 years ago in May was in the hospital at death's door. She was taking methotrexate. First they thought she had leukemia because her daughter had leukemia. Her daughter did not die from the leukemia. Her daughter was my best friend since 10th grade. She did not die of leukemia. She died of the morphine they gave her. But she had low platelets, low hemoglobin, low hematocrit. Automatically you think, leukemia. But she was taking a chemotherapy drug for arthritis called methotrexate. And it destroys your platelets. And you need platelets for blood clotting, right? So I was supposed to be there a week later. I was already scheduled to go to visit family and do some medical missionary work. So I called the airlines You know, when you change your flight, especially a week earlier, they charge you. It was zero charge. And that was God. So I got there a week earlier. She just got released from the hospital like 2 or 3 days before, maybe a few days more. That lady couldn't even lift her finger. She was white as a ghost, and this is a dark lady. Okay? When I stepped in the room, I've known her since I was 15. I was 51 at the time. I walked out, I started crying because she's like a mom. And I walked in, I said, Shirley, we're going to get you better. I'm going to give you 2 remedies, and this is going to revive you. Because I believed in what the Lord said. So we did the grape juice and the egg, 6 ounces of Welch's grape juice. Read the ingredients. It cannot have corn syrup. It has to be straight. The one with the Concord grapes, and 1 raw brown egg, not white egg. Now, we don't want to eat the brown eggs on regular. This is a medicinal situation. So pray, Lord, please don't let any diseases that might be in these chickens get in the body. We're just using a remedy that works fast. So she wouldn't take it 3 times a day. She only took it 2 times a day for 2 days. Plus, I gave her the green powder because that builds the red blood cells. It was green, dried greens, better than herbs. Go to betterthanherbs.com. She's an Adventist lady, but now she's selling CBD oil, which is a no-no. But the Better Than Herbs is excellent. Give them my name. You'll get your first container for $10 versus $30. And then I get discounts because I use my stuff on everyone for free. And the lady set it up for me like that. So I gave her a spoonful of the greens every day, and I gave her the grape and egg. This lady was going to retire from her job. She was so sick. People thought she was going to die. I mean, she was at death's door. The next day, she was sitting up and she was 60% better. I was in shock. I'll be honest, I was shocked how fast it worked. By the second day, she was walking around. The third day, she was out shopping. She was at the thrift store. The 4th day, she went back to work. So when she went to the doctor's the 3rd day, he redid her lab work. And her daughter, her other daughter, said he was looking at the old lab work from the week before. He was looking at the new lab work because her platelets were 70,000. They're supposed to be 150,000 to 400,000. So he was looking at the old one, looking at the new one. She said he kept scratching his head. They said, "What's the matter, doctor?" "Oh, nothing." "Why do you look puzzled?" He goes, "Because I've never seen this in my life." "Well, what do you mean? What haven't you seen?" "Well, you were 70,000 last week and you're 400,000. You're the maximum." And he said, "Oh, that stuff I gave you must have worked, but I've never seen it work that fast." She said, "I didn't take that." And they said, "Our friend gave us such and such and such." And he goes, "Oh, that wouldn't work." And they were like, "But you can't even explain it." And when she came to do the remedy, she told us this is what was going to happen. But I didn't think it was going to happen that fast, to be honest with you. I was surprised. But it was more for everybody else's faith. So there was like 15 people in that house. They're like, "Christine, go save our mama," because they've known me their whole lives. A lot of the little brothers and sisters that are 30, 31, I knew when they were just walking. And they're like, "You saved our mama's life." I said, "Nope, I didn't save your mama's life. Jesus saved your mama's life. I just used the remedy that he told us to use." So what are you going to do for Jesus? You have to give your life to Jesus because Jesus saved your mama. And wherever I go, family members on both sides, the husbands of the of my friend's sisters, or the wives of my best friend's brothers, wherever we go, she saved her life. "What did you use? Grape juice and what?" And now guess who they call whenever somebody in the family's sick? They don't call me for years. I'm the nurse. They don't take the baby to the ER. They would come right to my house when I lived in Lancaster, sit them on the table, and they'd have me examine the kids and do all the remedies. And they put me on all their emergency cards. Because the people in the world acknowledge this really works. But our own people don't acknowledge that it works. So we have to have faith, amen? Any other questions? Okay. Sister Phoebe has a question, and then Arthur has a question, and then we'll get Sister back here.
You mentioned how mercury, if somebody has mercury and dental work, that they can use. charcoal, correct?
No. What I'm saying is if you're getting them professionally removed, bring charcoal with you because sometimes the mercury seeps into your bloodstream. And so you want to take the charcoal right after so it'll absorb any loose mercury to take it out of your system. But it's not something that's going to work if it's still in your teeth.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, if someone has a vaccine planned, if it has the MRSA, the mercury, do you think that would help?
I don't recommend vaccines from my own. I tell people educate before you vaccinate.
Mhm.
After all that I've read, I personally would not vaccinate today. But there have been people who have been force vaccinated. And so the mothers, you know, children's services will go and vaccinate the kids now. You know, in the South, police are vaccinating people right in the car. Oh, yes. It's been going on for about 7 years now. Forced vaccinations. We were told slavery would be revived in the South, and that's a form of slavery. So there are people who've had that happen, and they've gotten, when the people left, they got a pulses, and they would put it right over, and they would drink it. Now, is that something I would recommend you willingly do and then do that? But if you're being forced and that happens, then
That might be one way to help.
it will definitely work to get it out. Most definitely. So will cilantro tea, because that takes out heavy metals, toxins. Okay? Okay, she had a question. No, Arthur was next.
Is unsweetened cocoa and natural peanut butter, are those okay to eat?
Unsweetened cocoa, no. Natural peanut butter, yes.
Uh-huh.
But you don't really want more than a tablespoon, and you don't want to eat it every day.
Oh,
We want a variety of nuts from the nut kingdom. We have pecans, we have almonds, we have Brazil nuts, we have filberts, we have different nuts. So peanut butter is not something that should be eaten every day, but the prophet does say peanut butter is okay.
Okay, what's wrong with unsweetened cocoa?
Well, cocoa is chocolate,
Uh-huh.
right? And what did we learn yesterday chocolate has?
Caffeine?
Yes, and what else?
Uh,
Well, let me just show you a link. Hold on a second. I have a whole document on chocolate. It has rat hairs, roach pieces, and rat doo-doo in it. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to eat that. And there's also chemical, starts with an M, that has a lot of health issues, causes a lot of health issues. Give me just a moment and I'll find the information for you. Laws of Health, New Start Nutrition, cheese and chocolate. Okay, let me get the link to show you. Okay, so this one is on cheese, and then I'm going to go down to chocolate. Let's see here. What should God's people be eating instead of chocolate? Carob, yes. Okay, chocolate causes the following problems, and I'm going to give you a link. Agitation, anxiety, depression, discomfort, respiratory problems, endocrine and hormonal problems, fatigue, fluid retention, GI problems, headaches, heart disease, imperfect balance, insomnia, irritability, palpitations, restlessness, tachycardia, tremors, vertigo, and cancer. After seeing what it can cause, I don't know if I would want to touch chocolate, right? Chocolate is a solid semi-plastic food prepared by finely grinding cocoa. So there it tells you cocoa is chocolate. It has to have a minimum of 50% fat. It has to have a large amount of sugar and milk added to make it palatable and mask bitterness. It contains tannins which have been implicated in certain cancers of the digestive tract. The caffeine content may be as high as 112 milligrams per cup of cocoa beverage. Chocolate may interfere with calcium absorption. It has to be fermented for 3 to 8 days at a time. And we're not supposed to eat fermented foods. Now let me show you what they said about the rat hairs and that. And I have a really good Jell-O chocolate pudding that tastes just like the real chocolate pudding you used to buy in the stores. Oh man, it's so good. If you guys want that recipe, I'll give it to you, but I'll email it to you for the sake of time. Where is the link? How come I don't have the link? I'm gonna have to, well, let me just type it in. Chocolate contains rat hairs and roach pieces. Chocolate allergies linked to cockroach parts. NBC News. 5 shocking ingredients you may find in brand name chocolates. 9 disgusting things that the FDA allows in your food. Okay, let's see here.
That applies to just about
Let's see here. The link I have goes into the milliliters per cubic inch of how much they allow. Okay. Maggots can be tunnelling in your tomatoes. That doesn't sound very good. Let me see here. Nope, not on that one. Okay, let's see here. 8 insect parts in 1 chocolate bar. Okay. 5 shocking ingredients you may find in brand name chocolates. Rat hair, polyglycerol, polyricinoleate, powder cellulose, heavy metals, cockroach limbs. There's other ones that tell you rat poop, rat feces. And do you want that in your food? Are we supposed to eat unclean animals? Are we supposed to eat rat parts? So that tells you right there chocolate's a no-no. And chocolate contains not only tannins, but something else that starts with an M that really messes with the parasympathetic system and can make you nervous or have anxiety. But if you want that information, send me an email and I will get you the information. Okay? Any other questions? Oh, she had a question, yes.
What about somebody that is on dialysis? Is there any way we could help them with natural remedies?
Let me ask you a question. Let's go to Psalms 103. Let's let the Bible answer that for us. Psalms 103. And let's look at verses 1 through 3. And when everyone's there, say amen. Okay, it says, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits, who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth how many of your diseases. So would that include kidney diseases? Okay, so do you guys remember what I said causes 80% of people to get on kidney dialysis? Blood pressure medication. Find out if that person's ever been on blood pressure medication.
Yes.
Find out if they're still on it. Because the only way they're going to be able to get off that dialysis is to get off that blood pressure medication. So you have to teach them lifestyle, diet, but they can do charcoal poultices over the kidney. Blue Chew is excellent. I have a handout on what to do for the kidneys. But the lifestyle, the diet is key. The diet is key. Yes, but it can be cured, most definitely.
Oh, that's good.
There's not one disease in this world that cannot be cured. Even a new disease we've never heard of.
So after
And I sent you guys all the documents the last time I was here, what to do for every disease. But you guys got that the last time I was here. Okay. Gay has another question. Does that answer you? Okay.
Yes.
And I like to give the answers from the Bible so people can see, but what if it's this disease? Or what if it says all diseases? Amen? Can God lie? No.
Brother Ignacio was talking about charcoal. I have activated charcoal, and that's good, correct?
That's the one that you want.
Okay.
That's what they sell in the health food stores, activated charcoal.
Okay, all right, and I get it in the little caplet thing, so I can break the caplets open. And
It's better to get it bulk,
oh, they
so
didn't
that
have
you don't
it.
have to go through all
Yeah, the
this.
day I was
Contact me, we sell it for very
Okay.
cheap.
there. Okay.
Okay. Sister Suki has a question. But isn't this information interesting? And see, when I started reading this, I stepped out in faith. And this week we're going to learn how you start, where you start. Just the stuff that we read. Somebody's got weakness in the eyes. Put some saltwater flannel cloths or washcloths on it. Somebody's got indigestion. Give them some charcoal mixed in olive oil. Is that hard? And then they're going to be like, wow, that really worked. And now you've just opened their heart to receive truths. Because she says if they believe we know this, they're going to believe we know the Bible. Amen? It's the entering wedge. Okay, Suki?
Activated charcoal was not available during Ellen White's time, was it?
That's what she used.
Talks about.
No, that's what they
talk about
used.
taking it out of the fireplace or something like that.
Right, that's what they were doing. It's the same thing. It's the same process. They were burning it and smothering it. It was the same exact charcoal.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I just wondered, like, if you're camping, somebody's camping and they need charcoal, they could take it off the fireplace.
But what you need to do is the wood, when you're done with your fire, if you didn't put any lighter fluid on it, and you're done with your fire, smother it with a metal container.
Okay.
And then let it sit for overnight. And then the next day, break that up, and now you've got charcoal.
Powder. Okay.
You've got the activated charcoal. But it has to be smothered.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't let it free
No.
and burn out with the air. It
Right.
has to be covered and smothered.
And it has to be black, not ashes.
Right, not the white part. You want the black part. You want the center part of the wood.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, is that it? Okay, we will be back on Wednesday at 7, Friday at 7. Sabbath we have 3 meetings, and next Sunday we'll be having 3 meetings. We've done 14 meetings so far. We've been zipping through these. 8 more meetings. If you guys come to me after I talk and I don't seem so enthusiastic, don't take it the wrong way, I'm just drained. Because behind closed scenes, and Vanjie and her husband can tell you, I'm on the computer doing documents, PowerPoints. It's a lot of work. So it's really good to ask the questions during Q&A because when the people watch on YouTube, they can hear them as well. I'm pretty zapped and tapped out when I'm done. So I'm not trying to avoid people, so I tell people, if you have questions, ask during Q&A or send me an email. And if I don't get to you for several days, it's because I'm so busy doing this. Okay? And so I hope you've been enjoying. Yes, she wanted to ask something. You won't be able to get it till October, but I'll tell you where you can get some now until I get home. Because I probably won't be home till the end of September, beginning of October. I go to California 6 weeks, and I'm supposed to go to Miami for a couple weeks, and I'm supposed to be going to Missouri for a couple weeks. So we'll see what the Lord has in store. Any other questions or comments? I don't have the information. You can go to charcoalremedies.com and buy the 10-ounce container or Charcoal House. They're the same affiliate, same people. Charcoalhouse.com. You can get a 10-ounce container with the loose powder. He has a question.
What was the other ingredient for the kidneys?
Send me an email for the document because I don't remember all of it off the top of my head. It's listed in the document. Okay? Okay, well, we're going to close out with the prayer.